What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the SIRS podcast. I'm your host, Ruckus, and joining me is Salman Khan, Imasianlol, LOL, and Nightmare Seda. And our guest tonight is Stormblade. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Storm. I'm the mid laner on LLW.
All right, so Storm, uh, last week I hinted that you and I had a little bit of beef, so we're going to go ahead and play a clip that started it. Just for a little bit of background information, this is a practice right before TKK took on LLW from season 2, and LLW began their slide. Maybe this will shine a little bit of light on that situation.
They're up. Yeah. Just
Oh,
get
blue's
this.
up. That was a really good transition. Yeah, get my blue.
Finally.
That's
You want
my
auto it?
blue.
Apply red buff maybe?
Still
Oh my
hurts.
god, Ruckus, you actually got it, you
Any
asshole!
mid laner would know what that feels like, especially on a Shen, man. We should have FF'd. I hate that you clicked no there.
We can have F.
Actually reported.
Oh my goodness, Storm, my man, we were up like 44-20, and the game should have been over about 5-10 minutes beforehand, if I remember correctly. But
Yeah, it would have ended earlier if you didn't take my fucking blue buff. You single-handedly made that game last about 10 minutes longer.
Oh my goodness, Storm.
Okay, I forgive you. It's fine. I'm over it.
Okay. All right, you guys saw it here first on the SIRS podcast. The rift is sown between Storm and I, and hopefully LLW can get back on track week 3 moving forward. We're gonna go ahead and let Solomon Khan lead in with the questions.
All right. All right, Storm. Can you tell us why you started to play League of Legends?
Okay, so I started playing League, I think season 5? I think it's season 5 if I remember correctly, because a group of my friends had started playing the game about a year earlier. My parents were super against video games. This is just a little backstory as to why I started playing so late. Um, my parents were super against video games in general, right? Like they didn't let us have anything in the house. It's actually my uncle. Okay, back up a little bit. My parents went on vacation for like a weekend, so my uncle came to watch us. And while he was there, he was like, "You guys don't have an Xbox? Every kid your age has an Xbox, right?" So he drove us out to GameStop, like 45 minutes away, bought us an Xbox, and we brought it back home, and that surprised my parents, to say the least. And that's kind of when I started playing video games in general. My parents let my siblings and I use a laptop about 2 years later, and my first game was Minecraft. And my friends had started playing League, and I was like, I don't think my computer can handle this. I don't think my internet can handle this because I had like 100 ping or something. This was before the server move, and I just started playing anyways. And I was a Master Yi top player. That's what I did. I would play Master Yi top because I was deathly afraid of dying in lane. So if I ever got low, I'd just press W, right? Absolute degenerate. And then fast forward a couple years, I didn't play the game like competitively or anything. I think if you checked, I probably played like 100 games the first couple seasons that I played. I think season like 7, I hit plat, but it was like I was playing like less than 500 games. Wasn't really that into it. Then in season 9 or season 8 into season 9, I think it was somewhere around there. My ex and I broke up, and I had a lot of extra free time on my hands, believe it or not. I was like, how can I fill this void? And just so happens within that same week, one of my friends was like, hey, there's actually a competitive team at the school here. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try out. I'm a plat player, but what's the worst that could happen? Turns out the only other people who tried out for the position were like, I think like silver or less, right? So I got the position and I started spamming the game. That season I hit Diamond 2, and ever since then I've just been like really excited to play competitively. Solo queue has never been like my forte. I mean, I was stuck for quite a long time in like high diamond, but now that I've moved past that, I really do enjoy playing the competitive aspect of this game a lot. And it's cool to see people of all different elos able to compete in a league like this. So probably a little bit more than I needed to answer the question, but
That was a good answer. I like that. It's nice. And
so
I
basically
guess
women is why I play League competitively.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can. I think some of us can compare to that. And then my second question was just, were you always a mid lane main, and why a mid lane main now?
Yeah, I already kind of spoiled that question. I'm sorry. I was a Master Yi top player. The first I didn't play it competitively. Ranked, I mean. I played Master Yi top just when I was first learning the game at the beginning of season 5. And then I switched to jungle because everybody's like Master Yi is a jungler. But then I didn't play any Master Yi in the jungle. I was like a Gragas, Sejuani, Nautilus player. This was back when it was like tank meta, right?
Mhm.
And I really enjoyed it. But my friends were all like, they'd been playing for a year, but they were just as bad as me. And one day, Jacob was like, one of my friends, Jacob, he was like, he thought he was like the shit. Like he thought he was like the greatest at the game of all time, right? And this is back when he was like silver 1 or something, right? He was the highest rank out of all of us for like a week, and he was just like, yeah, I'm kind of a big deal. He wanted to play jungle because he was tired of like getting camped by junglers mid, and I played mid. I played Ari actually, like one game, and I like went crazy, and I was like, holy shit, like, is this what it feels like to play a carry? And then ever since then, I've wanted to impact more than tank junglers did at the time. And it's kind of funny how that's, swung back in the other way where junglers are, the main source of impact on the map. But I just stuck with mid. I really like a lot of the champs. They're very diverse, right? You can play just about anything. I've played anything from Ornn mid to Zed, right? Just like very broad stroke of styles, which I really like a lot because I think I'm a pretty adaptable player. But yeah, that's the short of it.
Nice. Can throw it over to I'm Asian LOL now.
And I'm going to take it from here. Thank you very much, Solomon Khan. All right, I'm just going to go off a little bit of what Solomon Khan said and go a little bit deeper into your personal life, Stormblade. I'm just kind of curious, Storm, to what you personally think you need to improve as a player. What are your strengths and
Player,
weaknesses?
okay.
Yes, sir.
Obviously a lot. I mean, one of the nice things about this game is there's not really a skill ceiling ever. Like even the best of the best, like could be better.
Mm-hmm.
I think my main issue right now is, especially in leagues like this, is, and I've struggled with this for a while, is sometimes I don't play aggressive as I should. Sometimes I kind of let. I think I'm a really solid team fight and mid game player. That's like where I think the bulk of my expertise is. I understand, and that's probably because of the champs I played a lot, right? Like Vel'Koz is a mid game spiking champ, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
where I've acquired. I have like 1.3 million mastery points on that champ, so I've always understood really well how to expand a lead or force a lead around mid game. So I think getting better at my early game and carrying games when I should is probably my biggest point of weakness, right? I think that was pretty evident in the LLW match, right? Like game 2, I was able to find those early leads and snowball off of it, right? But games 1 and 3, I wasn't playing champs that were aggressive enough, right? Like there was plenty of assassins that were open in both those games that I elected not to play, and I think that was a huge mistake, right? Like if I'm playing Zed in one of those games, how much easier does it become for me to influence not only killing mid lane but also, roaming bot or top or dealing with a split pusher, right? Like all that kind of stuff becomes a lot more accessible to me. So I think that's one area that I really struggle with, is just it might be partly confidence, just like understanding that I do have an inherent advantage on most of the people in this league just through like the amount of time I've dedicated to this game, right? Like I probably have like 10,000 hours in this game. I don't touch enough
Dang.
grass. I understand completely, right? Um
Wow, only 10,000?
I have no clue. I haven't counted. Actually, isn't there a site for that? It's like hours wasted on League or something.
Yes,
Hours
somewhere there,
wasted
but
on LoL. Yeah, I can look that up in a bit, but it's probably a large amount of time. Now, on the other hand, I think one of my strengths as a player is consistency. Especially in competitive games, I like will always find an advantage, even if it is relatively small, right? I think one of the issues I had last season was I'd end up with like 30, 40 CS leads, but it wasn't enough to overcome if someone else was having like a multiple kill lead, right? And I think that's one of my issues in terms of like what I was saying. I'm not as aggressive as I should be in some circumstances, but yeah, I think overall I'm just like a consistent, solid player.
Yes, sir. And then Zach had a question that was related to my question here. I'm gonna let him take over real quick before I hold on to my other questions. So
Okay.
Talking about like how playing mid laners, playing a stable mid laner. I guess what kind of mids are you or mid laners in particular are you most worried about playing against in the league, or do you kind of see as the biggest problem for you? You are like probably the best mid laner that we have in the league, and as a mid laner, it's actually really awesome watching you because you just I learn a lot from like, especially watching your games and looking at, especially like last week, seeing because I cast next week's game and watching you play the Ari and how you were able to affect the map so much more on like that highly mobile mid laner, where you were able to actually carry that game compared to like the Vel'Koz where you weren't not as mobile, right?
Right.
So I guess what kind of mids are, I guess to get back to the question, what kind of mids are you in the league? Are you more worried about? And I guess who do you kind of, I guess in teams in general, who are you kind of most afraid of?
That's a pretty loaded question. I'll answer the one about mid laners first, and then we can move on to talking about teams because I think that's a much longer topic. I don't know if you guys want to discuss that with this question or later. I think obviously with the removal of Forever, like he's no longer playing on a main team, which is a little bit disappointing. I think he was probably the best pop off mid laner in the league last season. And I think that was evident by like people's choice to elect him as like MVP and stuff. I think most of his shortcomings came out of like okay, not shortcomings. I think one of my strengths in terms of team play is understanding like the limits of the other people on my team. So I think it was a lot easier for me to kind of like push us into a very specific style of play that benefited like the strengths of our team, right? And I don't think a lot of other teams had kind of like a coach slash shot caller that was like willing to invest time into like training up the other people's on their team, right? So I think getting back to the question, Forever was I was probably most excited to play against him this season because he elected to play a lot of like pop off mids, right? And I think I've improved a lot since last season, and I was kind of excited for that matchup. With him gone, I think it's obviously Wyke, right? Like I think it's clear that he's probably the best mechanical mid in this league. I mean, he's a Katarina main, right? Like he understands how to position pretty well, and he understands how to like when to go in when certain CC abilities are used, right? I think his biggest shortcoming is his lack of champions, right? Like I think we've seen it in the past. When certain champs get banned out, he kind of resorts to like a Vigar or a Vlad, and that doesn't seem to suit his style as much because it scales, right? He's more of like an early game aggressive, like Silas Katarina player, right? And I think him and Arctic will be like a pretty consistent duo once they like learn how to work together. Otherwise, I'm not really concerned about any of the other. I know that sounds kind of toxic, but like might as well embrace it. I'm not really concerned about any of the other mids in the league. I think I've played against them all before, right? It's I'm looking at the list right now, and I think I've played against every single mid that's on here. Because Shumpo 69 is Eris, right? From last season.
That's Ares. Yeah.
Right. So I think I played against every single mid, right? So I'm not really worried. I mean, I played against Nitro for the first time this past weekend, and I won't be nervous about playing him in the future. Is a nice way of wording it.
Nervous for your team, maybe?
Nervous, not because of him. I'm more nervous because I think Mini Soko and Soko, obviously being brothers, have really good synergy, and they play really well off each other. But that's a totally different topic. If we want to move into talking about teams as a whole, I'm down for that conversation now. If you guys are.
Yeah, we could put some of these questions on the side burner for now, and we can move into that.
Okay, perfect. I think that's just like a really natural segue, and we might as well, right?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, perfect. Obviously we've only faced 2 teams so far, RMC and TPP. I think that TPP was really unfortunate because they didn't have Sunny D. I think that if Sunny's playing jungle, their team looks pretty good. Like I'm guessing like around a 3rd place team, maybe 3rd or 4th, right? I think if Sunny was playing top though, this team goes undefeated for the rest of the season and wins finals.
Really?
Yeah, I think that Sunny's only competition is Soko, Mini Soko, and I think that I don't think it's even a fair comparison. That to me would look like a terrifying team. I think Sunny would be like twice as good as any other top. No flame. I just think that's like he's a better split pusher than Mini Soko, and nobody else in the league can play any champs in his split pushers. I think that's pretty obvious at this point, right? Like everybody just plays tanks because it's competitive. Now RMC I think is a really interesting case. Very like conservative players in its bottom half, and then its top half it has a split pusher. And Soko is an excellent supportive jungler. I think that they were actually a really good matchup into us. I think that RMC and GCC are probably the best matchups into us because they're topside centric, right? I think that Toad will perform well against us too because our top laner plays like a lot of tanks, and like obviously split pushers tend to do really well into that, right? And because Mini Soko is a split push centric player, him and Soko were able to just like I think in game 3 they were at our top inhib tower at like 12 minutes or something, 14 minutes.
It was around 14, yes.
It was ridiculously fast, right? And I think that teams like TPP will really struggle into that because if they can't find a lead against a bot lane, what can you really do about a split pushing like Yorick? You know, send your AD in support to like clear the wave. Then you're just 3v4 on the rest of the map. It's not really feasible, right? So I think that people who can either dominate RMC's bot lane or match their top, RMC will just like not have a win condition, right? Because I think their bot is like stable, but I don't think they'll ever find a lead on their own. And I don't think their mid will ever find a lead on his own. Like just based on playing against them, I think that they actually are a really good matchup into us because our bot lane is unwilling to play aggressively, and our top lane, like we're basically weak sided on 2 sides.
Yeah.
And then no matter like if I get ahead and I'm playing something like Syndra, what am I supposed to do against an Alawi?
It's
or
tough to find that
Vel'Koz.
damage.
Right, exactly. So I think that they were actually I'm really glad we faced them early in the season because I think they were the perfect team to kind of expose certain weaknesses in not only our style but our players individually. Like I think we had a lot of good conversations about things people could improve on in certain positions, and we're probably going to change our playstyle because of it. I think that's one of the nice things about our team is we are very adaptable. We have a lot of room to move how we play around, rather than like I think our champ pools are deep enough that we don't need to worry about what style we're playing. We just need to like figure out how to play that style, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But going forward, I think GCC will be our biggest struggle. I think that GCA is like pretty solid, but I think a lot of their strengths are in the same positions that our strengths are in. And I think personally, I think that Solomon Khan and I will out 2v2 Wyke and Arctic. I think Arctic is a fantastic player, but his champ pool is pretty limited, and so is Wyke's. So I think we have a lot more options in dealing with them than they have with us, right? So unless like Violet Cap goes crazy or Spanaway gets Leona, then I think we're relatively in a safe position against the remainder of the teams. I'm definitely most excited to face GCC and Rev though. Rev's bot lane with Spirit Tracks and Dangerously Stale. I haven't seen Dangerously Stale in the league. I think he's a recent addition, right? Just
He's
this
new.
season. I heard through some like rumors that he was actually like he was previously a diamond player, and I think
That's
Spirit
correct.
Tracks is like a very aggressive ADC. So I'm really excited to see what they do. I can't say whether we'll lose or win against them because they're just an enigma to me. Like I have no concept of what they like what kind of players they are, right? But overall, I'm really excited for this season because I think it's a lot more leveled out. Like I think everybody will have a chance to show their strengths and weaknesses. So, and I don't want to spend too much time on any one topic because I know that we actually have a scrim at 8:30. So
Soon.
yeah, so I'll let you guys ask some more questions.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and continue my half of the questions real quick here, Storm, and I'm gonna go ahead and ask you a little bit more about your team. And I just want to ask that what kind of roles does each of your player assume on your team that you think? And does Solomon Khan take over the early game with shot calling, and do you take over the late game, or is it just a mixed comp of all equally with 5 players?
It's a good question. I think that this is actually one of the things I think we're struggling. And I think I can combine it with one of your earlier questions. Did you already ask what obstacles our team has?
Oh, I haven't asked that, but you can go ahead and answer that right now, Storm.
Okay, sorry for jumping the gun.
Oh, it's
I
fine.
think it's actually one of the things that we're struggling with right now. I think that because I'm an experienced player and I'm obviously very intimidating to people, you know, through my very low sounding voice, and I look like a Chad IRL, so people are just naturally intimidated by me. I think people are not willing to like fully commit to speaking as much as they should. I think that people are undervaluing how much communication helps a player like me assess like lane states and where I can move around the map and impact things. Because the top half of the map in our most recent series was completely silent. The bottom half was just complaining about dying. So like, and then you know it just becomes a
False.
cyclical thing, where everybody is silent or everybody's complaining, and then you know communication breaks down, right? So I think that right now the only person who is making like shot calling decisions is probably me or Salman Khan. I'd like to get to a point where everybody on the team is like coming up with ideas and talking about what they think they need to be successful. Because one of the advantages of being one of the better players in my position is I have a lot of resources that I can choose to allocate to different areas of the map, right? Like having mid constantly being pushed in means that I could be anywhere as long as somebody else has an opportunity for me, right? So I think our team has a pretty big like we have a lot of potential going forward. I just think we need to work on our communication a little bit and understanding that we don't need to win the game in the first 10 minutes.
Alrighty, thank you for that. That was very informational. Really appreciate that.
Of course.
And then this is one more early question, but I don't know if you have any predictions yet, but do you have an early prediction of which team will make it to finals besides y'all?
So this one's kind of tough for me, right? I think that Rev is sleeper. I think that like they're a sleeper agent. I think nobody understands how good they are yet. I don't even understand how good they are yet. I have no clue. I really like the way their bot lane sounds to me, and I watched Zippy play. I think he played Ornn or something, and he looked really solid. He just looked like a rock, right? And having a super strong bot side and a super solid top is like a recipe for success. If he's just playing stuff like Malphite, Ornn, and the bot lane is playing like Samira, Rakan or something, right? Like they have the potential to just 1v9 games. I think I said this earlier, TPP, if they put Sunny D top, which I don't know if they will or not, I have no clue. If they put Sunny D top, it's TPP in the finals for sure. I can almost guarantee it. I think that having a split pushing top with a winning bot side is like borderline unplayable for 90% of teams in this league. But my prediction overall, I think, would actually be probably Rev and GCC in finals.
That's actually funny because you said Rev because I actually just played against them and we got 2-0 by them. And like you said about their bot lane, it's definitely sleeper. They definitely can turn a 3v2 situation right on itself on a dime.
I think that TPP would lose to Rev just because I don't think Fichi could find an advantage against Dangerously Stale. I don't think Fichi could find a lead against Zippy. And I think that ISO and Scaling couldn't find a lead against Spirit Tracks and Dangerous. And then I think that Eris will be able to find advantages over Shooter. And then the jungle matchup to me is a toss-up because honestly, no flame, Sunny D didn't look like a top jungler last season, right? Like obviously last season I would put like Salman Khan, Soko as like the top two and by a big margin, right? They were always neck and neck to me. So I think my prediction would be Rev and GCC. I think we're kind of I have no idea how our team's going to turn out. I think we have a lot of potential, but it depends on how, like what players are going to be able to practice on their own time and if they're going to be able to play down the road. Because I know that some people are pretty busy with life, you know?
Yeah.
But my prediction would be Rev GCC in finals.
Okay, so Storm, I know that you've been successful at the collegiate level across different amateur leagues and solo queue. I want to know if League was never a part of your life, what do you think you'd have done instead?
Probably would have done a lot better in school.
Can
probably
relate.
would have talked to a lot more women, touched a lot more grass, worked out a lot more. Probably would be making more money than I am right now, just because I've taken some risks to pursue possible careers in League, either through coaching or other like there was I was offered a couple positions as like an esports coordinator or a coach for certain universities, right? Unfortunately, like those things just couldn't work out for different reasons that would take too long to explain.
That's fine.
But I think that if I never found out about League and I just went on with my life, I'd honestly probably be in a better place, but I wouldn't. I would have missed out on all of this, and that would like not knowing I would have missed out on this wouldn't have mattered to me, but knowing now, I wouldn't go back and do anything. I wouldn't change it. I like a lot, like as much as people talk about League being like a toxic game, I actually really like a lot of the people in the communities that I've met, especially like these amateur leagues are super fun. A lot of the like even the higher elo amateur leagues are super fun. Everybody's generally pretty kind. Obviously, once in a while you get that bad egg who, you know, is a toxic league player. But for the most part, competitive is way better than solo queue, and I really enjoy getting to know like people like you guys, right? Like it's just guys chilling, you know, and that's a unique experience. I don't think even you can find in a lot of quote unquote regular sports, right? So
You do have a sweetheart persona under that toxic layer.
yeah, I'm only toxic in real life, so.
Okay. At this time, I know we kind of do have to wrap it up here in 10 minutes as we do have to go scrim GCA. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor for any additional questions from my fellow hosts.
So, Storm, just a clarifying question. When you were saying GCC, were you meaning GCA?
No.
Okay, because GCC is my team with Young Trinsetta and Neville top. Okay, just clarifying.
What are you insinuating,
I think
Seda?
Young Trinsetta is a really good player.
I
think that I obviously haven't seen them play, but just based on like how good he is, and I think that Neffel is like a decent player too. I think just young Trendsetter being on team is like a huge question mark to me, and I expect him to just like pull out some crazy aggressive shit and just 1v9 games because I think he is probably the best carry jungler in the league. He's the
He is
best carry
amazing.
jungler in the league. I
Yeah,
don't think that can be argued. And I think that jungle is the most impactful role. So if he decides to play like if something in the meta shifts and like Talon's back in the meta or like even if I don't know what he's playing right now, but if something like that is in the meta that can just like run over games from the start, like maybe like Kiana jungle is in the meta, that just seems like really scary to me because I think Soko is the best supportive jungler in the league, and I think Salman Khan is another version of like a carry jungler, right? But I think that young Trendsetter's pool is just like made for dominating games, which is really scary to me. So I think they'll do better than they are right now. So
Yeah, I was just curious because you hadn't mentioned any of the players' names, and I just was double checking on that. It's more of a clarifying question.
right, fair.
Uh, just for my sake. Yeah, I agree with you. Trendsetter's absolutely nutty. The man can't be banned out either, which is great.
Right.
So I appreciate just a clarifying
Yeah,
question.
yeah, no problem.
Anything else from any of our other hosts?
We still got 9 minutes, so
Yeah.
I'll try not to talk for the whole time, but feel free to ask something.
That's why we had you on.
Feel free to talk or mention something if it's in the back of your mind.
Yeah, Storm.
I won't be offended.
Yeah, Star. I'll just say this: never been on a team with you, but I have had the pleasure of playing with you guys a couple times, filling in for you guys in practices and stuff. And I'll say that you're a great player to play with overall. You are one of the, like I said, you are one of the highest ranks, if not the highest rank in the league right now. And so it's really awesome, like when you're not like actually super toxic. Like you kind of have this persona of like high ranked players that are super toxic. So I just want to say it's a pleasure playing with you. I really appreciate you coming on here because it's always fun to hear you talk.
I appreciate you saying that, although I don't think you've played enough with me to know I'm not toxic. Just saying.
Well, I
I
played a
think
lot
that
with you, and I've
some of
watched
the
a
other
lot
players
of
on my team might
Ruckus.
disagree with you. That's all I'm saying. Especially
I've
Ruckus
watched-
when I blame him for taking my blue buff.
I've watched plenty of
that
his
was like a
streams,
slap
too.
on the wrist.
Yeah, usually I like the last time he took my blue buff, I literally flew to his house and beat the shit out of him.
Can confirm. He left a plane ticket at my house for proof.
Pulls it out. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot.
Ooh, I got one.
All
All
right.
right. So I know Nitrodex was shit talking you in your DMs. And I know you guys recently lost against RMC. How are you gonna redeem this, Stormblade?
I mean, okay, so everybody makes playoffs now this season, right?
Yep.
I think that we will be the only team that doesn't. So there's gonna be no rematch, and they're just gonna have the 2-1 victory over us, and he'll be able to pick on me for the rest of the season. So I don't think there's anything I can say about it other than like it's pretty obvious that it wasn't mid gap. So anything he says, I'm just gonna chalk up to. It's fine. Like it's a for fun league, Like I'm not stressing about it. I played in like there, so it's actually kind of funny. My first season playing collegiate, I remember the game that took us out of playoffs. Right, we were in playoffs, and the game we lost in playoffs was I was playing Ari mid, and they had a Zac jungler. Right, we just won a fight near Baron, traded 1 for like 2 or something, or 3, 1 for 3. Right, it was like Zac and like a support alive or something. Right, and we start taking Baron, and the Zac goes to jump over. I'm chasing the Zac down to make sure he doesn't try to steal Baron, right? Because Zac can jump from like a mile away, and I'm playing Ari, so I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna hold my charm for when he starts charging his E, and it's in the bag, right? The game's over. So I'm chasing him around trying to kill a Zac as an Ari, right? Which doesn't really. It takes quite a long time, especially at like level 14, 16 when Zac has like 3 items, right? I'm chasing this guy around. He's like hitting. He hits golems, or what are they called? Krugs, and starts channeling his jump. And just as he does that, one of the small one of the smaller Krugs dies to his Sunfire Cape. It used to be Sunfire Cape. Dies to his Sunfire Cape. One of the little minions pops out, the little Krugs, and blocks my charm.
No.
And the Zac jumps and steals Baron. And they make the comeback, and we lose the game and get knocked out of playoffs, right? So anytime I lose cannot be worse than that. Because there was actual money on the line. So losing to RMC and having Nitro in my DMs like, ha, yeah, better mid wins is like, it's like okay, you're bad. L plus ratio.
Someone might say.
Like yeah, it doesn't affect me as much as I think things affect him. I think he has a lot more emotion invested into losing than I do. I mean, I can just be like, hard stuck L plus ratio or something, and like he'll type like 10 paragraphs to me. Like it's not that deep to me. And I think it was pretty evident from the series that like we had some other issues with our team play that weren't really influenced by mid that caused us to lose. And if we can correct those, like maybe next time around, if we take you out in playoffs, like what are you gonna say? We beat you our first series of the season. It's not really much bragging. Like I guess they can say, yeah, we beat LLW, but then who's gonna be standing at the end? Who's gonna come in last place in this? Actually, I think that's a good question for you guys. Who do you guys think is gonna come in last place this season?
Dream team.
My team.
Yeah, dream team.
Really? Okay. But that was kind of you said that really fast. Are you okay?
No
yeah,
cap.
I'm just I just come from a background where I don't expect nothing to happen, and then if something happens, then hey, I'm here, brother.
I think it's sad because I think they, on paper, have a really crazy strong team, but it just doesn't, like, watching them play, it's just not coming together.
Which paper are you looking at?
I'm looking at
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. That was like a toxic joke. It was just a meme. I thought it was actually pretty interesting when Dream Team got selected. Toad was actually like I think a really underrated mid laner last season. I think he's a pretty good mechanical player. I don't know. I haven't seen how he's playing this season. But I think the team looks solid to me on paper. Honestly, if I were to have like just looked at these teams and said straight up who I would put in last place, it probably would have been RMC. But the reason for that, okay, let me explain first. To me, Soko is the best supportive jungler in the league by a pretty good margin. I think he has a really huge pool for supporting, like tank jungles, right? But RMC didn't have a carry, is the way I looked at it, right? Yeah. So I was slotting them for last place because not having a carry on your team and having a supportive jungle is like it sucks to play because nobody ever wants the resource, and then nobody ever gets ahead with the resource. So it was like I slotted them for last place. I'm really happy to see Soko and Mini Soko trying stuff out, like Soko playing the Kayn in game 1, right? That's something that I'd wanted to see out of him for a while because I think he's like a really solid player, and I think he's the only reason he's stuck in plat right now is mental. I think that mental is a huge impact on the game. I think that's why I was stuck in diamond for such a long time. I think once he gets past that hump, he'll just like climb really quick. But yeah, I think that teams will kind of even out as we go further into the season. I think once people like find their stride and like figure out how their teams are supposed to function, because we did just redraft. Like not everybody knows how to play with each other yet. So I think we just be patient with, like even Dream, like be patient with your own team, and you might surprise yourself in like a month from now. You might not be last place, and like LLW might be last place or something. Who really knows?
We do have a scrim to get to, 3 of us. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Storm, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming onto the podcast. I know that we had to reschedule it once, but I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So that's gonna do it for us here from the SIRS podcast, spearheading the ELU mayhem and bringing you up close and personal deep dives with our guests with light hearts and extra sauce. Goodbye, everyone.
LLW is going to re-engage, and they are
Nice
going to get
charm.
damage. Oh, he has to burn flash to even survive there. Kaisa did burn the ult.
I don't think they thought that charm was going to hit. They didn't look like they were ready for it.
I don't think they did. They are going to... Nasus either has to back or people
Or
have to
maybe
start
trade
reviving
again.
soon. Okay, so they are just going to go for the win, knowing Nasus is not there. These are the type of games I love to see.
Oh, here's
Nasus
the
is
TP.
going to be TPing in, and we are going to see the Zac ultimate come through. Does Zac an ult? No, Zac ult's just there. They are going to get some kills. Salman Khan actually doing some insane damage on the front line, and that will probably be the game. Honestly, I don't
Yeah.
know how else they
Oh
come back
my
from a great
goodness.
charm coming through, and that is going to definitely be the game. Quadra kill. They're going to have to give him the penta, right? You have to give him the penta.
Pentakill.
Penta kill coming through for Stormblade. I believe that's the first pentakill of the season.